What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Chaz. And today, my guest is Clemson soccer alum, national champion, and current pro soccer player for Austin FC, my friend Charlie Asensio. How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for being on here. So, let's start with the national championship, man. What a run that was. I was really happy to be at Clemson at the time too, and we had a class together, so it was super cool to see that run and see what you guys accomplished. So, what would you say just breaking down that run? What was different with that team? What was the mindset? How did it feel going into those games in the postseason, and just how you guys got the job done?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I tell everybody this, but I wouldn't say that team was probably like the most talented team that I played on while I was at Clemson. I think like on paper we were probably more talented my freshman or my sophomore year team. But I think what made the difference was just how connected and how close of a group we were. And like we were willing to do anything for the guys in that locker room, which I think was what eventually put us over the top. And I don't think many people expected us to do what we did and accomplish what we did, but I think we always believed in it and believed in each other, and I think the staff believed in us. So I think that was the biggest key of why we were able to get it done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think most championship teams typically have that in common. I don't think that talent on paper gets the job done at the end of the day. You have to be united. You have to be a cohesive unit. And I just thought that was so cool seeing how it all went down. And it was super cool from my perspective as a student. I mean, we could all tell you guys were bought into it. You have to buy into the program. And I was just going back looking at previous seasons, and yeah, you guys had two really, really good years before that. And so I think that it could have been your year any of those years. And I think that the consistency of the program over time as well, I'm sure you could say the same, is also what helped going into it. You had that experience and lots of players that ended up going pro years prior and then still going pro now. I just think that I think it's a real testament to what happens when you are a cohesive unit like that. And going into that game, just the national championship itself, would you say that Washington was the best team you faced, or do you think there were challenges during the season that were harder than that?
Yeah, I mean, Washington was a great side. They
Mhm.
wouldn't have made it that far if they weren't. I think playing in the ACC was really important for us because week in and week out we were playing against really good competition.
Mhm.
I think I'm a firm believer that the ACC is the best conference in college soccer, and I think it was huge for us to have that kind of quality competition every single game. So I think that set us up well for the tournament. And then for me, I think that Oregon State game on the road in the
Mhm.
Elite Eight was super tough. They were a really good team. We we played at their place. They were the number one seed, big crowd. It was rainy night, and for the first half, things were not going our way. And I'm not gonna lie, at halftime, I was already thinking like, man, this might end tonight. But um, once we got back out there in the second half and started moving the ball around better, and I
Mhm.
think we things eventually clicked, and um, we started to pick things up a bit, got a goal, tied it up, and then won it in PKs. But that Oregon State team was probably the best team I played when I was in college, and they have a lot of good players that made it pro. One of them actually is on my team now in Austin, so that's pretty funny how that worked out. But yeah, Washington was a great side. Notre Dame was a really tough side of the semis, and there are a lot of good teams in that we have to get past in that run, and a lot of tie games that we made it in penalty shootouts and whatnot. But yeah, there's a lot of tough teams. It's hard to pick one, but if I had to pick one, it'd probably be that Oregon State team.
For sure. That's what I was honestly expecting if it wasn't Washington. I would have thought
Yeah.
that you would say Oregon State. But after that game, when you guys ended up making it out of that game, did it hit you guys where you like we can really, really win this whole thing? Was that a moment where you kind of not got over the hump, but really had a lot of strong belief. Like if we can win this type of game, we can make it out of this whole thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think from the start of the tournament we knew we could do it.
Mhm.
And we believed in ourselves and believed in each other. But I think the mindset kind of changed from, we could do it to like, all right, we're doing it, like
Mhm.
we knew it was a possibility and we knew we could get it done if we performed well and stuff. But after beating that Oregon State team, I think uh, we were pretty confident that we were going to get the job done, and luckily we did.
Yeah. No, I think big moments like that too really change the mindset in any scenario in life too when you can when you show that grit, kind of make it out of the tough spots like that. But yeah, after winning the national championship, drafted shortly after, what was the feeling in that moment too, knowing that you were gonna end up playing pro?
Yeah, I still get goosebumps talking about that day, but it was really special. I grew up in Atlanta, so I thought that's where I was maybe going to end up. And after conversations with them, it didn't work out, and so I my name was entered in the draft, and I really had even the day of the draft. I mean, I knew of a couple teams here and there that had mentioned my name to my agent and stuff, but I really had no idea. And Austin wasn't even one of the teams that my agent had brought up. But it's funny because my sister actually lives in Austin. She had moved here a year before the draft, and um, I knew a couple players on the team, and I knew a coach on the staff, and I just had some kind of interest. I just wanted to get drafted. I wanted to hear my name called, but Austin was always that one team that like I kind of wanted more than all the others. And I remember when they were next on the clock, and I was like talking to my parents and my girlfriend and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I feel like they need a defender, like they might be me and stuff. And just like seeing my name pop up was the craziest feeling. It's something that I'll never forget. And then, my phone's blowing up like a minute after that and getting a bunch of texts from people I haven't even talked to in years. So it was a crazy, crazy experience and a day that I think my family and I won't ever forget.
That's gotta be so cool, man. That
Yeah.
I saw that and it was really cool. It's just we had class together, so it's cool. Like from my end too, I was like, no way, like that's the coolest thing. I played soccer too my whole life. I don't know how much we ever talked about that, but I played a year of college soccer before I transferred to Clemson. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
cool because I love the sport, man. Like it was my whole life forever. So seeing people, I had class with Mayaka, my first
Oh yeah.
semester at Clemson, and it's a really similar situation. We had Spanish together, and then COVID sent us all home. But then seeing him get drafted as well, it's gotta be the coolest feeling, man. That's like a dream come true, isn't it? Isn't that what you
Oh
worked
yeah.
for your whole life, right?
Yeah. Since I was, I think 3 years old is when I started playing. And then I think I've been serious about the game since I was probably 10 or 11. So it was something I've been working for as long as I can remember. And I think, like you mentioned, Mayaka also got drafted. I can list a whole lot of
Mm-hmm.
other names, and I think that's a big credit to Coach Noonan and Coach Jonesy and all the coaches and support staff that we had at Clemson because I think they set us up really well for that opportunity, and that even made the transition into the pros a little bit easier. So it's a big thanks to them, and I think you can see that in the number of guys we've sent to the pros and
Mm-hmm.
the trophies that we've won and stuff. So that's a big credit to them.
For sure. I don't think you could send that many guys pro without having a culture. You could send one or
Oh,
two
for
guys,
sure.
but when when you have, year after year after year, multiple first overall picks too, that's a huge testament to the coaching staff. And I think that's awesome you give them credit too, knowing that it's a culture thing too as well to send that many people. But I'm glad you mentioned that how your transition to going pro was a little bit easier because of that. What was that transition like? Was there any super hard adjustments, or was it easier than you thought, harder than you thought going into that? What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that were harder than others, but I think um, in terms of the soccer, I think the speed of play from college to the pros was a huge difference. And I think that's something that even a year and a half later, I'm still adjusting to. Like it's the ball just moves a lot faster and guys are making decisions a lot faster. So I think that was the biggest adjustment I had to make, and probably the thing that I struggled with the most. I wouldn't say it was necessarily the physicality of the guys or how fast or big the guys were, which most people would probably think that's what it was. But I would say the speed of play was the biggest thing, and then off the field, it's just completely different. It's you go from college soccer where you have lift at like 5 a.m., then you train, then you have film, then class, study hall. Like you have all these things that fill up your day. Where now I'm back home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I really have nothing else to do. So just finding things outside of soccer to get away from the game and keep your mind fresh and all that I think is really important, and something that I also struggled with at first. I was like, what am I supposed to do with all this time? But I think that's another big difference between the college lifestyle and the pro lifestyle.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting too that going pro, you almost have more time on your hands. You would think maybe going into it, it's go, 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 train, play,
Definitely.
like lift, always being involved in it. But that must have been super, super weird in a way where yeah, you're like, what do I do? Like, what do
Yeah,
I do with the rest of my day now? So
exactly.
what do you normally do?
Yeah.
what have you found like keeps you busy?
So one thing that I wish I'd done more, but I'm trying to get into because I know a lot of the guys do it is golf. I feel
Mhm.
like that's just like on the come up. Like everybody's, golfing now, especially in like the soccer community and just athletes in general. That's what they do in their free time. Um, but besides that, Austin's a great city, and I live pretty close to downtown where, there's a lot of parks and lakes and stuff, and a lot of stuff to do outside. And like I said, my sister's here and she has a dog, so I'll join her on her daily walk as well. So there's a lot of things to do here in Austin. So I'm pretty lucky to have ended up here and
Yeah.
be able to experience that.
That's awesome. Would you say, especially having some family there too, keeps you grounded and keeps
For
everything
sure.
pretty level?
Yeah, I think, and especially at the beginning when, because you come here and it's different than other sports. Like in soccer, only like the top like 5, 10 picks are guaranteed a contract. So, the first 5 weeks I was here, I was living out of a hotel and I didn't know whether I was gonna get signed or been told that, things didn't work out. So those 5 weeks were extremely stressful, and having someone here was really nice. And being able to leave practice and not just sit in my hotel room every single day was big. And, being able to see family and get my mind off it and all that was really important for me. But yeah, it
Yeah.
was tough at first.
That had to be a good thing to know that you had family there when you're, like you said, living out of a hotel. I didn't even know that it worked that way. I wouldn't have ever guessed that you were fighting for your contract after if you weren't one of the first picks. Is there a reason? Do most people end up getting a contract, or is it really like you don't know? Were you confident, or is
Yeah.
it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I was confident in my abilities, and um I believe that I could get it done. And I think that's, every player should have that confidence. But at the same time, it's not always in your control. And
Mhm.
a lot of sports isn't. So you never know how much roster availability there is or money wise, if it's going to work or whatever it is. So, you can never know for sure. So I think that was really tough. Every single day is a tryout. And um, yeah, honestly, in soccer, most guys don't get that contract coming from college, and I
Mhm.
think that's why college soccer now there's like a pathway now to skip college when you're coming through the academies and stuff, and a lot of guys are signing at a younger age. So
Mhm.
um, people are saying that college soccer is kind of losing a little bit of its quality and stuff. So less and less guys are coming out of the draft signing and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely stressful. I had confidence in myself, but you never know 100% if it's going to work out or not. So those 5 weeks were tough and stressful, but um, just had to keep grinding and keep trying to prove myself to the coaching staff. And fortunately, it worked out. And I've been here for the last year and a half, and it's been great. So
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I bet it had to be a big relief to be like, all right, I can stay, I'm gonna play everything. worked out. But that's interesting too. You mentioned kind of the state of college soccer right now. Would you agree with people that say that it's kind of losing its quality?
Um, I think it's definitely different than it was maybe 10 years ago because making that jump from, club soccer, high school soccer just didn't happen back then. Um, so do I think it's changed? Yes, but do I think college soccer is a waste? Definitely not. Like, I think I definitely don't regret my decision to go to college soccer rather than pursuing pro soccer at 18 or 17 or 18 or whatever it was. But I think there's a lot of value in college soccer, both on and off the field. And I think if guys are ready to contribute on a first division team at 18 and they're given that opportunity, then, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think there's benefits to both. But like I said, for me, I think I learned so much at a program like Clemson. I don't think I would be the player, the person I am today without the 3.5 years I spent at Clemson. So I definitely don't regret it. I think it was a great decision for me to go there. Um, but yeah, I would say it's changed, but there's still quality in it for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed the quality too, being able to watch you guys play. I think the top, especially the top programs, I think there's so much quality there, and you guys prove it year in and year out, sending people pro, sending people to the highest level that you can be in professional soccer. So I definitely think that, especially from an outside point of view, the top level is definitely there. You guys, other high all the ACC schools really. I think the top programs are still very, very good opportunities to go pro or play at a really, really high level. But did you consider ever just going straight professional, or was that not a route that you even wanted to try to take?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely in the back of my head, and I wouldn't say I was ever really confident that's the route I was going to take
Mhm.
because one, I don't personally think I was ready at that point in my life. I think I still needed to, get stronger, get faster, which college is great for. And, I think I just needed more time to develop. And so that was one thing. And then also, soccer's not forever and you never know how it's going to work out. I mean, even if you fulfill your career, you're probably only playing till like 34, 35. So there's a lot to still live after that. And I think that was a big reason why I always thought college was the better route, just because, getting that degree and getting the education and learning all the things that you do in those 4 years, I think is really important and something that I wanted to get done. So even though it was like in the back of my mind and I was like, that was the dream and maybe there was a possibility to get it done, whether that was second division or whatever it was, I think I was always pretty confident that college was the better route for me, and I'm happy I took that route.
Yeah, I think that's really smart, and like you said, it's not forever, and you never know when it's gonna end. What do you think you'd be doing, or what do you want to do when your career is done?
Yeah, I've had plenty of people ask me that, and I still don't know. I want to be involved in the sport or in sports. I'm really passionate about soccer and other sports as well. So the more I can be involved with the game, I think that would be great. And what that is exactly, I haven't really decided or thought that far ahead, but I think that's also another great thing about getting, even if it's a couple years or however long it is playing pro soccer, you meet so many people in the industry, not even just players and coaches. Like you meet front office people, you meet media staff, you meet all these different people that can lead to so many different jobs and pathways to do something different once you're done playing. So I think that's something that I'm trying to take into account while I'm doing this, meeting all the right people, being friendly to everyone in the organizations that I'm a part of. And, um, you know, eventually I think I'll figure it out. But right now I don't know what's next for me after playing.
Yeah, and I mean the great thing about it is you don't need to know. Yeah, you're
Exactly. Yeah.
playing and enjoy the experience while you're playing. But speaking about, meeting all these people and all the networking you've done, who's either a player or someone else in the media or just that you've met while playing pro that's either the interaction was really cool or a player you always wanted to play with or against? Who's someone really cool that you've met throughout this process?
Yeah, I think in terms of like fame level and just like being like, wow, this is pretty crazy. Is we have a guy on Austin, Sebastian Driussi, he finished second in the MVP race last year in the MLS, and personally, I think he got robbed. I think he was probably the best player in the league, and just being able to train with a guy like that, and we have a number of guys that have that type of talent and quality, but seeing able to see what he can do on the field and learning from guys like that is pretty cool. And like as a young pro like me, like being able to observe everything that they do day in and day out is really cool. But yeah, I still remember walking in the locker room and being like, this is pretty crazy. He's my teammate now. And I think as the years goes on, like today it was announced that Messi's coming to MLS. So like
Yep.
just being in locker rooms with guys like that is pretty cool. Or even sharing the field with them and going against guys like that. I think it's really big for the sport and in our country and the MLS as a league. So yeah, I think that all those things are pretty cool.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on Messi coming to the
Yeah,
States? I saw it and I'm glad we're doing this podcast today. I feel like that was
yeah.
perfect timing. I was like, definitely have to pick your brain on that, especially being you guys are gonna be playing in the same league. Isn't that a pretty cool feeling?
Oh, it's insane because obviously I'm sure you were the same way. Like growing up, Messi was a legend. Like I personally believe there's no one better than Messi, and I'm a big Barcelona fan, so Messi's always been like my guy, and seeing him win the World Cup and all that, it's been really cool. And hopefully I get the chance at some point to share the field or share the locker room with him. But I think it's really good for the sport in our country, and obviously I want to see it grow as much as possible. And I think this is a really big step, and so I'm excited. I'm excited to see it happen.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be huge. It I don't want to say it came out of nowhere because Messi to MLS rumors kind of like float around every once in a while the older he gets, but you see Ronaldo and Benzema, even Conte's going to like all like Saudi Arabia, and so you kind of look at it like he could have gone multiple places. He could still play at the top level somewhere. You know what I mean? So I
Oh, for
think it
sure.
I think it's super interesting that now's the time. I wonder if this is it. Is he gonna play and then go somewhere again, or do you think he calls it here after a contract or two? What do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah. As a Barcelona fan, I would like to see him, go on loan there for a little bit before
Mhm.
he ends his career. Maybe I'm just biased and I want to see him play in that shirt again, but um, I honestly don't know. I would think that since he's coming here, it's probably the last place he'll end up playing at. But I am happy he chose to come to the MLS rather than a league in Saudi Arabia or whatever. And obviously, I know a lot of players are doing that for the money or whatever it is. But I'm excited to see him compete in this league, and hopefully, I get to see it firsthand in person or play against them or whatever. But that'd
Yeah,
be pretty insane.
that that'd be I'm sure a pretty full circle moment. You have to defend him or even just yeah play against him and or yeah be in a locker room with him. I think that would have to be a crazy feeling. But yeah, I saw too that I think it was a Saudi Arabia team offered him like $1 billion. It was like 1.6 billion for like 3 years or
Yeah,
something. It was absurd, and he turned it down, which I thought was really cool. I think he has a lot of big things planned. I think the MLS and being in Miami is probably pretty similar to LA. I think he probably has a couple business ventures or something in mind like beyond the game out here because I think a lot of people like David Beckham kind of you can start a brand or build a team. You can own a team, stuff like that.
yeah.
But that could you imagine $1 billion? That is
I couldn't. Yeah, I wish I could say that that was something similar to my salary, but
absurd.
it's not even close. But that's unreal that someone could be worth that much. It's
Mhm.
crazy to even think about.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on a lot of big name players that we grew up watching? What are your thoughts on them all going to Saudi Arabia? Is that, do you know much about that league? Is the level not good, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know too much about it, so I don't know how much I can honestly speak about it, but um, as a fan of the game, obviously you like to see those kind of talents, stay in Europe in the leagues that we or most people watch on TV
Hmm.
every weekend and stuff. And um, or in my opinion, I would love to see them come to the MLS. Like I said, I want to see the sport grow and the league grow. And I think getting those kinds of players would be great for the league. So preferably I would, if they feel that they're getting to the age where they can't compete at that level in Europe, I would rather them come to the MLS. But yeah, I honestly don't know much about the Saudi Arabian league other than they have tons of money over there. So that's pretty
Yeah.
much all I know about it.
I don't even know where all that money comes from, man. They're just
Who
throwing out
knows?
contracts left and right now. Everybody's getting an offer. It's pretty insane. I don't
Yeah.
it, I don't know. I think the trend might continue too. I mean, you look at all the players that already are going. It's just interesting because when they go at they go at an older age too. So it's like
Hmm.
it. I mean, you got to make the choice for you when you're about to retire, I guess. But very interesting. I definitely want to watch it. Like at least one. I've never watched a game, so
Neither have I.
I can speak on the level either.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested. I think as more players go, obviously that league's gonna grow, and I think more and more people will watch it here in the States. So yeah, I'm interested to see once a couple more guys go over how good that league can turn out to be.
Yeah, and I wonder if it's gonna be top heavy, or if the talent level is gonna be kind of even like Bundesliga, where it's like Bayern and Dortmund kind of run it, or if the teams are gonna go to like multiple, or players are gonna go to multiple different teams. But it'll definitely be super interesting to watch for sure.
Definitely.
But yeah, I'll have to watch a game eventually. I can't really speak on it because I haven't. But another thing I wanted to talk about too, you spent some time with Charleston Battery, right?
Yes. Yeah,
What
I
was
did.
that experience like, and what was so how did that all come to play? Because I saw you were playing there, but I didn't know how did that all come to be?
Yeah. So in soccer, there's these things called loans, which I'm sure you're aware of, but
Hmm.
basically a lot of younger guys, especially guys from college, they don't play right away coming into the MLS. So it wasn't something I was shocked about, but I wasn't getting many minutes while I was here in my first year. And uh, developing as a player, it's huge that you're playing games on the weekends. Training at this level was great, but I think after 4 or 5 months of being here, I think I'd learned a lot and stuff. But I felt like it was time to showcase it, and
Hmm.
I felt like the club was also in a similar mindset. They know how important it is to develop their young players, and if they're not getting on the field, you can't fully do that. So me and my agent and the front office here and the coaching staff here, we sat down and we talked about it. And Charleston was in need of a left back at the time, and um, you know they talked about it. And then one day I was told like, all right, you're going to Charleston in 3 days for the rest of the year. So
Wow.
it was a quick turnaround, and a lot of things I had to get done in those 3 days. But I was really grateful for the opportunity, and looking back at it, it was really huge for me because I don't think just training that whole year would have been the best for me.
Hmm.
So I was able to go to Charleston, where maybe the level wasn't as high as it is here in Austin, because Austin's MLS and Charleston's USL, but it's still a great level. I think it's still a stepping stone from college. I think it's a little bit of a higher level, a little bit faster paced, and um, so I think I got like 15, 16 games there, and it was a really good experience, really good coaching staff there, and I was able to showcase myself and keep learning and playing games. And Charleston's a great place to be outside of soccer as well. So I think that was really huge for me in my career to spend those 3, 4 months that I did in Charleston.
Yeah, I think that's great too that you saw the opportunity as instead of not playing, um, or instead of, yeah, not getting game time minutes, instead of seeing it as something that you were unhappy with, you saw going to Charleston as an opportunity to get the minutes under your belt on the field instead of just through training, you know what I mean? I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
that I think that's a great way to look at it, keep that mindset that it was a good opportunity to get more experience. And did it feel cool to be back in South Carolina? Where was that part of it? That did you feel more comfortable? Was it a cool feeling being back in South Carolina?
Definitely. I think it was really cool. There was, you know, being out here in Austin, there's not a whole lot of Clemson alums.
Hmm.
Um, but once I went back to Charleston, you know, like even on the games on the weekend, you see people in the stands, you know, wearing Clemson stuff. So like I think that was it was pretty cool to see, you know, being an alum and just being recently out of Clemson. It was really cool for me to see. And then on top of that, I think it was like a 3 hour drive or something. So while I was there, I made it over to Clemson twice, and I got to see their opener at home last year, and got to see all the guys that were still in the program and see the coaches again and stuff. So that was obviously great. And also, I was closer to home, which is Atlanta. So my parents came up quite a bit, which is obviously really nice. And yeah, it was definitely nice being closer to the East Coast, being close to home and Clemson and all that. I think it was great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Because when I saw that too, I was curious seeing you go from, Clemson to Austin and then Charleston. I was like, that's got to be pretty good feeling to know that when you did go on loan, you were somewhere close to, your alma mater, being able to, like you said, go visit and see everybody. I think that I think that probably was pretty good feeling, right?
Oh, for
Like
sure.
instead of going on loan somewhere completely across across the country.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool that you were able to do that. So especially so early in your career where you're trying to get adjusted and, meet people and grow as a player and a person, being able to spend a couple months in Charleston. Charleston's a cool place too. I've been
It's
a couple times. I'm sure you enjoyed it.
yeah, it's I always tell people like in sports and in soccer, you don't get to choose where you live a lot of the times. And, you know, I didn't have a choice in either two of these. You know, I got to choose Clemson, but once it comes to the pro level, you don't have much of a say of where you're going to end up. And getting Austin and Charleston, I feel very lucky because these are two really, really cool places to be in. So could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a blessing to be able to be in two super cool places. When you were looking at schools to play at, was Clemson your first choice initially, like going through how long did it take you to realize that's where you wanted to be? Were there other places you looked at that, caught your eye and then it just didn't work out? What was your recruiting process like?
Yeah, I honestly, Clemson was always at the top of my list. You know, being 2 hours away growing up from Clemson, you know, I would go to games as a kid. I would go to like the soccer camps with a bunch of my buddies and stuff. So I always was sort of a Clemson fan. So it was always at the top of my list. And I remember I was really uh, looking at Clemson and Wake. I was talking to plenty of schools, but Clemson and Wake were the two top ones probably. And I visited them both in the same weekend. And after that weekend, I was like, yeah, it's Clemson for sure. I think the campus, the people, the coaching staff, like everything drew me to Clemson. And I think it was after that weekend, it was a pretty easy decision for me to choose them. But yeah, I talked to Louisville and Georgetown a little bit, but um, it was probably always going to be Clemson.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's got to be
Yeah,
such a good feeling too, especially because it was always on the top of your list, and to get
definitely.
the opportunity probably wasn't too difficult, I assume, especially
No,
after that visit. That's how I felt when I visit. And I didn't even come to like play a sport or anything, but I was there. I was like, this place is awesome, man. Like,
oh, it's amazing.
nothing like it, really. So do you still keep in touch? I'm sure you do, obviously, with everybody there and people that used to be there, like all your buddies from your team that either went pro or graduated. I'm sure it's got to be a family feeling, right?
Definitely. We had an assistant coach, Coach Pierce, and he was actually on the last team to win the championship in 1987. So it was cool to hear like his stories about the team and
Hmm.
his experiences and stuff. And like after we won that, he was like, you don't know it now, but this championship will like really bond you guys for a lifetime. He was like, I still talk, daily, weekly to a number of guys on my team and stuff, and we still come back and visit. And the reunion is just different than others because of, the championship that they won. So um, I agree. I probably haven't fully realized it yet, and I probably won't realize it till years down the road. But the guys that I spent 4 years with were I can call them my brothers now, and I still talk to them every day and keep up with them and all that. So I think that championship really bonded us and brought us together.
Oh yeah, that's a real special thing you guys accomplished, and it's super cool being a student too. I wasn't on the team, but it's a great feeling, being able to say national champion. I mean, if it's cool for me, it's gotta be insane for you guys. But I think that's so awesome. But again, I really appreciate your time, man. It was really great to talk, and it's been a while, but dude, yeah, never hesitate to reach out, man. It's good to hear from you, and I can't wait to see everything that unfolds in your career too, man.
I
Also,
appreciate
awesome
that.
guy on and off the field, so I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate it, man. And thank you for having me on. It was fun, and yeah, definitely, it's definitely too long since we caught up. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, 100%. Yeah, well, we'll keep in touch, and if I'm ever in Austin, man, I'll come watch a
Yeah,
game for sure.
sounds good, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, take care.